Hey, what's up, everyone? It's the Lemesis, your nemesis, but you can call me Lem. Welcome to Just Another Cheesehead podcast. And today we're going to go into a slight more detailed dive of Jordan Love in college compared to the NFL. So today's podcast is Jordan Love's college and NFL numbers as of the 21st of December, 2023. So I thought this was interesting because in the last game or previous games, I remember hearing a commentator referencing to the inconsistencies of Jordan Love on the field and how he performed very similarly in college. So, I'm not a huge fan of college football, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an expert, but I know it's not the pros. And remember, I'm just another cheesehead. But I decided to pull up his numbers at Utah, and I wanted to compare how well he's performed in the NFL. Just looking at his overall touchdown to interceptions, completion attempts. I don't know if the passer rating is done the exact same way as it is in the NFL, so I'm going to avoid that as much as I possibly can. I know that the rules inside of in college football are drastically different at some points. Like, you can only get 1 foot in bounds, which is a huge difference in my opinion compared to 2 feet. Then you have the whole overtime rules, and there's probably a lot of other stuff I'm just not aware of, and maybe there isn't a lot of things that are different. Just to show you my ignorance on how much I know about college football. And again, if you're not a pro, I don't really want to watch you. So that's the biggest reason why I don't watch college football. But I went through these numbers. I thought it was quite interesting enough to share with you all. Because again, in the end, if I'm wrong about this kid, which I don't think I am, by the way, uh, I have zero problems with admitting that I'm wrong, right? Because if we get a guy who turns out to be another Hall of Fame QB, I'm riding the wave. I'm getting the Jordan Love hearts out. I'm putting them above my head. I'm having a good old time. But what I don't think is, well, what I do think is that's not going to be the case. And I think what we're seeing with these numbers consistently, he's not that diamond in the rough, in my opinion, that's just going to come out and shine because after being in the NFL for 4 years, his numbers look relatively similar to how he was in college. So, and he looked rather pedestrian. And then a big thing that I noticed looking at his numbers is when he played like a legitimate team in college, he got desecrated. So it matches up with what I've been trying to say. We play a lot of bad teams in the NFL because everybody in the NFL belongs in the NFL. Well, then, yeah, you're going to have some decent numbers here and there when a team is just so discombobulated. But when you play a real team, your true colors come out. And that's not going to give you a long career in the NFL. So let's take a look at that. Something I found quite alarming is how many turnovers Jordan Love has had in his career so far, and just this year alone. So if we just want to look at a total of fumbles and interceptions combined, right? The kid has had 2023, he's had 11 interceptions and 25 touchdowns. If we include all of his fumbles, that's 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So he's had 19 turnovers with 25 touchdowns. That's terrible. So his output is not really all that great, and the positives you get from him don't outshine that, right? Because we have a losing record. So at the end of the day, you would have to, give credit where credit is due. We're 6-8, and he has 19 turnovers and only 25 touchdowns. And I'm not going into the details on how many touchdowns he gave up from all of those turnovers combined. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding there that our team has to be working from a deficit when you turn over the ball that much. I mean, he's almost at a 50-50, right? And that's kind of what I saw in college. What I saw in college was when he had favorable teams, yeah, he performed. And what's worse is that it didn't look like he performed that much better than his competition at times. But we're going to go into that, and I'm going to show you game by game. I feel like that's the only fair way. We've done a couple podcasts here where we've gone game by game. And I feel like, I wanted to make sure that I could pull up all the stats. And now that I have all the games up, I just pulled 2019 with Jordan Love. So here's his schedule. He played against Wake Forest, Stony Brook, San Diego State, Colorado State, LSU, alarming game. And I pulled the box score. Nevada, Air Force, BYU, Fresno State, Wyoming. Let's get rid of that. Boise State, New Mexico, Kent State. And ended in a loss. So we're just going to go game by game, and we're going to start with Utah State versus Wake Forest, 35-38, and we're just going to pull up the individual numbers. So this is the kind of stuff that I've been seeing. To me, this first game is kind of indicative of like how the whole season went. He had flashes. He was 33 out of 48 attempts. That's not bad, 416 yards, but he threw 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, which will lead to an L, right? Like almost every single time. Look at his opponent. I don't know who this kid is, but Jay Newman, 34 for 47, 401 yards, 3 touchdowns. Granted, the score was close, 35-38, but those turnovers make a difference. Without going too far into the details, you tend to think those turnovers is what kept Wake Forest in the game. So we can't have stuff like that in the NFL. Let's move on to the next one. Again, we're going to keep it very superficial because, again, I'm not a huge fan of college, but I just wanted to pull it up, right? So we got the next game that Jordan Love was in 2019. Did I skip? No, I went straight to the right game. So he played against San Diego State. So there's a W, 23-17. And then Jordan Love, it's an interesting game. You tend to think he's not the main reason they won. And what was that box score again? Let's take a look at that. 23-17. He doesn't throw a touchdown at all. He's 30 for 47, so he's throwing the ball all over the lot. He roughly gets 293 yards. That's not terrible. But he doesn't throw a pick, but he doesn't throw a touchdown either. So any rushing touchdowns, it looks like he got no rushing touchdowns. He has a net loss of -9. But this kid Warren was going gangbusters. Gerard Butler here, or Gerard Bright, did decent. I wonder if they got a bunch of picks, maybe some pick sixes. That's probably what ended up happening. There was 1 for 48. So he didn't play great, but it ended in a win, 30 for 47. That's not terrible. I don't know what percent completion that is off the top of my head. I can pull up a calculator really quickly and give you that percentage in a second. Hold on. 30. The 63% completion. That's not bad. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and the greats have like 61, 62, 64. So that's not a bad completion. That's not a bad completion at all. So then let's move on to the next game. What do we got here? He's going against Mr. O'Brien, and this is against Colorado State. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss any games. So Colorado State is up next. We end up in a W. And I believe this is one of those games that I get really alarmed with, right? We end up winning, or I say we as if I'm a Utah State fan, but Jordan Love ends up winning 34-24. The score looks good, but then you look at his numbers. He was 17 for 33, 204 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Again, it's very indicative of what he's done all season. That's a 51% completion, which is terrible for only 204 yards. So he was struggling the whole game. You could tell in this. But somehow when you look at the box score, this gives me another indication that someone else was kind of carrying the bag. And it looks like the rushing game was like fantastic. He was averaging 5 yards a carry. So that tells me what I've seen so far. And I guess you could say this about most quarterbacks in the NFL, that we need a really good running game. And if we don't have a really good running game, Jordan Love in the long run is not going to look that good, because he's going to make enough mistakes where he could put the game in jeopardy. And it looks like he had a lot of great talent around him, and it probably has something to say about the opponents that he faced, because you'll see that later on. So then the next game, we got Jordan Love. Does he play San Diego State again, or is that an old one? Let me pull that up. Oh, no, we need to go to the LSU game. So let's go to the LSU game. This should be, no, it's 24-34. That's Colorado State. Hold on. Oh, I think that was right. So we just finished that one. Let's go there. Now we're at Colorado State. Looks like he wins that game. So far, I'm not seeing amazing numbers from him so far. Again, we just saw this one. This was Colorado State. I must have made a mistake there. Let's move past this one. We saw those numbers. And then let's go to box score. Here we go, LSU. Now we're at the LSU game. And look who he played against. He played against Joe Burrow in LSU in 2019. Again, 15 for 30, 50% pass. Look at these numbers. This is really alarming. So he plays a legitimate team. He's not the only guy, right? He's the entire team. NFL is a team sport. But if you look at him individually, they couldn't run the ball, right? You see this here? They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't pass the ball. And he threw 3 interceptions in this game. 50% passer rating, 130 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 50% completion, 130 yards, and 3 interceptions. And he was sacked twice. And Joe Burrow went off. 27 for 38, 344 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. And Joe Burrow looks like, that guy over there, right? He's doing good. I know he's injured this year. But, again, we see another game very similar to how Jordan Love is playing in the NFL. So let's move on. So then the next game we got here is Jordan Love against Nevada. And that ended up in a W, 36-10. Let's see what we got for the individual stats. I know he had some good games. I think maybe he's near the end of the season. So here we go again. 13 for 31. Terrible. Less than 51% completion. Only 169 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. It did end in a W, but it looks like defensively they held the offense down. And again, just like we just assumed, look at how well their running game is. So you're seeing that the running game is holding it down. 126 net yards for Bright, 73 yards for Jaylen Warren, 33 yards for Riley Burt, and even Jordan Love got 19 yards in that game. So you really only see, even when Jordan Love has a W and he doesn't play well, he needed a great running game around him for him to perform that well. So now we're going to go to Air Force. And again, we're several games in, and we're not seeing outstanding numbers. So Air Force beat the brakes off of them, 31-7, another shellacking. And let's take a look at the individual numbers for Jordan Love again. Yeah, 14 for 23. I mean, his percentage is better, but he couldn't really do anything. 114 yards, 1 touchdown, and again, they shut the run game down. So it's proven my point over and over again, except for the fact that this happened in college. This guy, he's not the kind of QB that's going to go out there and win the game. He wasn't that kind of QB in college. So when you see these kind of numbers, to me, that's what makes me concerned, that it looks like if you have a really great running game behind this kid, he's still not even going to perform all that great. It's really just a running back, and then when the running back is shut down, they're in a world of hurt. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing. That's against Air Force. And then BYU's coming up, and let's get rid of this. So another beatdown, 42-14. Let's take a look at the individual numbers. Yeah, Jordan Love again. He's looking pretty atrocious. 29 completions out of 49 attempts, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He's just not getting it done, guys. And this is kind of what I've been trying to say all season, that we're really just seeing the same thing. Here we go. We finally get a good game against Fresno State, 37-35. Looks like he turns it around. Let's make sure we're in the right game. We are. So he gets 388 yards, 2 touchdowns, 30 for 39. This looks like one of those games, right? This looks like Kansas City Chiefs. This looks like the Chicago Bears, first game of the season. Did pretty decent. Again, I don't know how good their opponents are, but, I mean, he looks pretty good here. But, again, a lot of wild inconsistencies. The running game was fantastic as well. He's included in that running game. But, again, what are we saying? And now we're going to get down to the wire. We're going to Wyoming, then Boise, New Mexico, and then Kent. So if we just quickly go over those again, doesn't do too hot, 18 for 29, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns. And again, those interceptions. And we're not looking at any fumbles, but I'm assuming he's had some fumbles along the way. And this ended up being a winning game for Jordan Love. And then the next game he's against Boise State. Jordan Love, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Again, these numbers are inconsistent. He keeps turning the ball over. And I see that's the reason why I think Matt LaFleur doesn't have him really throw the ball into tight windows too much. He's got a couple tight window passes, but again, those are fluky. Those aren't consistent, right? You know, when you see other great players in the NFL consistently making those passes, it gives you confidence. You know, I remember seeing Brett Favre slinging that thing, trying to get that ball fitting into, like, you know, a window smaller than a fish tank, like one of those circle-like fish tanks. You know, you put your goldfish in there, and he would get it in there sometimes. And then, of course, he would get the ball picked. But you're not seeing that with Jordan Love. You're seeing Jordan Love throw the ball, and I'll give him this. In the red zone, he's mastered or decently mastered. Well, I don't want to say master. He's thrown some really good balls in the red zone where he throws to the corner of the end zone, but he's missed guys wide open, running on the flats, overthrowing them. So there's some areas, but to me, there's not enough to say, man, this guy can really spin the ball. Then we get against New Mexico, 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 172 yards. Again, you know, to me, this looks like he's not doing too well. They win, but they're not really winning, you know, in my opinion, because of him. Because, look, their running game had 133 net yards. I mean, he threw for 172. So, to me, this sounds like the workhorse was their running game. They get into the red zone. Jordan Love throws a couple passes, and it makes them look good, right? To me, that's alarming. I don't want to see you get the credit when it's kind of like when Marshawn Lynch ran the ball all the way down to the 1-yard line, and then they try to give it to Russell Wilson to throw the pass in. It's like, no, we're not here because of Russell Wilson. We're here because of Marshawn Lynch, beast mode. Again, I don't like seeing plays like that. You know, you might do that just to inflate your numbers to make yourself look a certain way, but at the end of the day, I need to see more than just you throwing the ball in the red zone just to overinflate your numbers. To me, that's not sufficient enough. And then the last game is against Kent State, and it looks like we lose, or Jordan Love loses against Kent State. And again, he does get a really great completion percentage, 317 yards. He's throwing picks, though. Now, again, there's so many things we have to say here. How many picks were tipped? Are we looking at that? We're not seeing any of that. But all I'm saying is we have a full season in college of Jordan Love, and we have almost close to a full season in the NFL, right? Because I believe we're about 14 games in. And we're seeing very consistent, right? 19 total turnovers, only 25 touchdowns, and we're still losing. We're still losing. So I'm not seeing a huge difference in Jordan Love's play. And to me, you should see a huge difference. And look at them. They were 7-6 against Kent State and ended up losing, being 7-6. What I tend to expect is Jordan Love is probably not going to be the kind of difference maker to give you many games over 500. So I just wanted to share some of my findings of what I found about Jordan Love when he was in college in 2019. It does not paint the full picture, but it does help piece things together. Remember, this was definitely in college, so it's not the same, but in my opinion, this was quite alarming. But I'm going to cut it short there. Thank you for watching another quick episode of Just Another Cheesehead podcast. Like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. And hey, as always, if you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, you should get to know him. It'll be the best decision you ever make in your life. Look up the Lord's Prayer. Ask him to come into your life. And I hope you have a great day. Peace, love, and hap. I will catch you guys on the next one. Later.